Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Broiler Chicken Show. The only show where chickens run in fear. What? At the moment that Brian announces his show's on the air. Run for the hills. Anyway, welcome back to the Frivolity. I got a few people here in the Hangout with me. That's kind of cool. About a dozen people or so over there on the YouTube page. So hopefully we'll have some fun here today. Obviously, the market itself is a bit sanguine. And if you haven't learned that whenever it's Brian's birthday, it's usually a crappy time in the market. Well, I think you're going to learn that lesson. It sucks, man. Never fails. Never bloody fails. Usually, obviously, 6 different celestial events. What's supposed to happen in years that end in 8s, 9s, 0s, 1s, and 2s? Is something supposed to happen? So unfortunately, we're in that window. And we never really did get the recession that we were supposed to get. The silly 1% jacked the whole damn society around there with that whole sickness craziness there. So in essence, I get the impression that we really needed to have a recession. We really needed to have a cleaning out. Every economic cycle goes through this, and they kind of cheated with what they did there in late 2019, early 2020. What I find fascinating is I hear a lot of people looking at price on its own and trying to understand why are prices so high? Why are equities so high? But in reality, they aren't, right? If you have to take in the dilution effect of the money printing into valuing all of these assets that are denominated in US dollars. If you want to sort of compare what prices were doing 20 years ago to what prices are doing today, you have to. And tragically, I mean, this is the really shocking part of this. I don't think a lot of people understand this. And so I have a lot of people saying, well, crude oil prices are really high and prices at the gas station are at all-time highs and stuff. What are you talking about, Brian? But they're not. In fact, I would even actually argue that commodity prices on balance are actually really low, which is kind of ironic. But nonetheless, it's awfully difficult to try and convey that message if the audience just doesn't want to hear it. So tumultuous times in the market, no doubt. I would argue that we're probably on the good. I mean, the good part about this is that a guy like me, when we're climbing higher and higher and higher, and you probably all remember how upset I was getting week after week after week with, dog money, my Sedona Euphoria references. And then, you get the NFT market and the crypto punks. And you get Danielle fucking, oh yeah, you're gonna be a great money manager going down the road. I mean, can program like the wind, but come on, you can't talk to the 1% like that. And then of course the latest, train wreck du jour. And I gotta say, repeatedly, week after week, month after month, if there was one criticism I had of Mr. Kwan is that he had one hell of an ego, and he literally painted a bullseye on his forehead. And they came after him and they knocked him down to earth. The tragedy of this is that we are all sitting here with this mental mindset that $1 billion is a lot of money. And he's sitting there going, my emergency fund has $2 or $3 billion or whatever, or $5 billion. When I get the impression that we literally need to add a zero onto everything, everything that we buy in our society, everything, every good, every service, just to make it equal to, say, the dollars that I actually make reference to. And actually, a really good example I try to convey to you guys is this tuna fish sandwich. I remember in 2000, I was 30 years old. I used to go and get a 6-inch tuna on cheese almost every day from Subway, and chips, drink chips, pops, and cookies. They used to say damn thing every day. Drinks, chips, pops, and cookies. And I'd always say no, 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 and no. I want my 6-inch tuna on cheese for $2.75, please. Anyway, I go to Subway now, and that silly 6-inch tuna on cheese is now the better part of $10. So that's 5x just right there. And the worst part about it is I wouldn't be surprised if that thing tops out at 10x. Drinks, chips, pops, and cookies. It'll be $30 for lunch. Jerks. So this is the thing that I get so upset with is this is a very coordinated, very colluded, very well thought out, very well planned, intentional dilution of our standard of living to make sure that the banker's business model continues business as usual. And the worst part about all this is that through the 1980s, a politician / Hollywood actor, no, I think it's first. And the worst part about it is he's a B movie actor. He wasn't even an A movie actor. A B movie actor / politician. The banksters even took a poke at him and just reminded him who's in charge. And he came to Washington. He's like, budgets, you don't have to worry about budgets. The bankers are saying that if we spend more money than we bring in, then theoretically we can grow the economy and still have deficits, and everything's perfectly fine. And the funny thing is George Bush Sr. called it voodoo economics, because frankly speaking, it is. It's predicated on the banksters continuing to lend you money at interest for financial slavery. Oh, we're going to call it inflation. That's what we're going to call it. And the worst part about it is if you try and actually go and talk to any sort of people that are hip deep in the financial services industry, this isn't even debatable to them. It's not even debatable. It just is. So the irony of all of this is that it's business as usual. This model that we live in was actually put in place in 1913. What's really interesting is you're seeing more and more and more. I said that on my little cell phone, I sit and scroll through all the YouTube little short videos, and there's guys even now putting out, what happened in 1971 when Tricky Dick took us off the gold standard and created this even worse sort of petrocurrency nonsense world. And of course, that's completely fallen apart. And a big part of the world wants to move away from petro sort of backed assets. And, if anything, I think I hear a lot of people are going to be labeling for carbon credits, currency-based systems going forward. I do hear a lot of that kind of talk. Greta coins. And the good part about it is that, good part, I don't know if it's good or bad or not. Yeah, I mean, what can you say? I mean, the interesting thing is if you watch my videos over the past years or so, hopefully you've heard from Brian that the message hasn't changed. It's just a little disappointing to see how blatantly obvious it all is and how completely oblivious the public is. That's what shocks me about all of this. And now the worst part about the situation now is there's no going back. We either completely blow this thing up or the Rothschilds win and they get another $100 trillion of our wealth in slavery fees. And governments now, somebody who wanted to rise up and say, enough is enough. I think it's like every 80 years or so, you have the opportunity to actually check the banksters. Because through every sort of baby boomer demographic, and baby boomer happened to be the name of that generation, but this is nothing really new here, what's going on with these humans. You have a big old war, and then everybody comes back after the war, and they all, fuck like rabbits. What a surprise. But the point is, it's generations come and go. And at the very peak of every generational cycle, the banksters usually lend out way too much money. They're just insanely greedy and they're vulnerable. And what was fascinating about this last cycle, really good education, and Barack Obama, to all intents and purposes, he failed. He failed miserably because he had the opportunity to right the ship. He even sort of like campaigned on we're going to bring change. We're going to bring change. Remember there was what the hell was it called? The Wall Street sit-in movement. I can't remember what the name of it was, right? I mean, basically everything was there. Okay, let's fix this system. And he did absolutely nothing. In fact, he even just let the banksters just continue to gut the system as much as they want and allowed this quantitative easing thing, which is nothing more. And really, that's where all this inflation that we're suffering through today, that's when it started. And that's the one thing that really pisses me off about all of this is that these stupid politicians actually come out and say, well, the Russians invading Ukraine is the reason why we have inflation. You have got to be kidding me. Are you really that stupid? It's shocking. Oh, God. I would, and actually, it was kind of interesting, a little disappointed. I sat and listened to Raoul Paul's latest offering with some of his panelists. I thought it was pretty good, and I even tweeted out good quality information. I go and actually try and help Raoul, and if somebody is a member of their site or something like this, for Pete's sake, somebody clue him in. Nobody is helping him. I went to great length and explained, you're just missing the picture. You're not taking into account the explosion of the money supply. If you take into account the explosion of the money supply, actually everything makes perfect sense. And I even gave him a nice little pretty little chart link, right? This is my, if you really want to see what the hell's real in this world, well, it looks something along, watch out for the naked lady pictures, though. I got to be careful there, right? It looks something like this. I mean, this is real. And the interesting thing is there's Bitcoin. It's done fabulously well as a store of wealth. Protect me through all the bullshit for KZ. And what was really interesting is I had somebody even today go, well, aren't we in an energy crisis? And aren't energy prices really high? I don't know. Look at that chart. The energy prices don't look very high to me. In fact, I'd actually say energy prices look kind of cheap, which is ironic, eh? Go to the fucking gas station, $2.50 for a liter of gasoline. I mean, just astronomical levels. If you're like, okay, well, I go to work, I punch a clock, I get paid. That really hasn't changed much. And yet the irony of it all here is in reality, and this is the crime, right? This is the physical crime that the banksters have pulled off here. And what's so funny is that they're now sitting there going, well, we don't want the public to expect to get higher wages to offset this price inflation that we've created. So we better sit on them really hard and jack interest rates up really hard here. Oh, God. This is literally a crime what they have gotten away with. And there's nothing we can do about it. The only people that had the balls to stand up to them were the the Americans, and they actually told the Europeans to go themselves in 1776. And it's fascinating how, and through the 1990s and the early 2000s, they actually did stage plays about Alexander Hamilton, the great American hero, Federalist. Of course, he was the first advocate for a central bank. They actually funded a guy to actually have a Broadway musical about Alexander Hamilton. The guy died in a duel because he was kind of being lippy to other guys in society. I mean, that's the kind of, of course it's all funded by the banksters and all that bullshit, right? And the woke community being fostered on by the banksters, of course, makes the one guy in U.S. history, the one person who is able to stand up to the banksters and tell them to go to hell because we actually value the currency of our country. And he actually even paid off the national debt. And they spun this beautiful narrative over the past 10, 15 years about he was the worst villain in American history, good old Hickory, because of his Indian policy. So, I mean, do your own research. Whether Native Americans were treated poorly or well. Keep in mind, George Washington himself, at the end of his life, had 300 slaves. So, obviously, put everything into historical context. Then good old Abraham Lincoln, actually. And ironically enough, Lincoln would have played ball with the banksters, but the banksters wanted to break this audacity, this thing called the United States of America, which was basically an affront to the Rothschilds themselves. Franklin, in fact, Ben Franklin even said that the number one reason why the American War of Independence happened to begin with was the whole Stamp Act and basically stealing money from the citizens to fund bankrupt governments. Oh, that sounds kind of familiar. And the irony of it all is that the banksters, they don't care whether the leader is a tyrant like George and spending all of the country's wealth on fighting wars. Mr. Putin, excuse me, sounds a bit familiar. And the worst part about it for the Ukrainians is they're going to be so up to their eyeballs in debt to these banksters at the end of this. If they survive, they're toast. They're going to be slaves to the banksters for forever, which is so sad. I mean, damned if you do, damned if you don't, it seems. Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah. So I mean, historically, this tug of war of the United States of America has been going on a very long time. And unfortunately, like the banksters, they don't really care what the value of the underlying currency is because, number one, their wages and their pensions are all indexed, and they will give themselves pay raises to offset the depreciating value of the currencies. And of course, everything that they do is a fee percentage basis. So it doesn't really matter whether you're lending on $1 million or $100 million, 1% is 1% is 1%. So they don't care. But the sad part about it is for you and I, if we want to save some money and just put it away for a rainy day, they make the purchasing power of that currency less valuable day after day after day after day. And then it about once every sort of 80 years, the hits the fan, where they have to admit what they've done, and there has to be some sort of new vehicle. The interesting that they depreciate. The interesting thing this go round is that it doesn't seem to be a new vehicle. There is no, like the last go round following the end of the Second World War, the dissolution of the the sort of British hegemony and the British sort of base currency system. Well, they just jumped over to the United States, and interestingly enough, they were able to hijack the U.S. government and the U.S. monetary system, 1913. And what a coincidence! Literally, the next year, the destruction of European banking system began with the First World War. The next year. I mean, come on. How blatant does this have to be? Anyway, I mean, the sad part about it is that people like you and I, and anybody watching this video, we're too small a creatures to be able to do anything about this. It's tragic. I suppose it's kind of like good old JC sort of sitting there, waving his fists at the Roman Empire and sort of saying, can't we all just get along? Hopefully what you hear out of listening to a guy like me is the message is always the same. I hope you all can understand how important it is to neither be a lender nor a debtor. Because if you're neither a lender nor a debtor, you don't really care about any of this nonsense. If you're up to your eyeball, and the worst part about it is the silly humans, they always FOMO, right? So we just had a massive real estate bubble here. What a surprise. Everybody FOMO'd in on the long side. And what kills me, of course, is that this was a commodity cycle. So the commodity countries, Canada, Australia, Russia, now that we've turned the cycle, they're all falling apart. And what really bothers me in Canada, again, the little girl that was put in place that has no experience, she doesn't understand half of what I just explained to you guys. And I would be willing, if somebody is like serious, I'd be willing to sit down and have a serious conversation to try and educate her on how she's being played. And unfortunately, her boss is being played as well. They're being played like the most beautiful deck of cards ever. And the problem here is that they're playing a really dangerous game. Because if he thinks that actually, I'm going to turn the table on the banksters and I'll write things, he's going to get himself assassinated. Abraham Lincoln, Old Hickory, actually McKinley, I think, was a pretty big advocate to try and control the banks, and I think he got whacked. I mean, there's a number of them throughout history. JFK, to a certain degree, he tried to break the banking cartel with his silver coins, his Kennedy $50 were they? So the point being that these people play for keeps. I said earlier, Hollywood actors turned politicians tried to come to Washington and say, okay, you know what? We're going to change this place and make it for the people again. Pow, 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 pow. Oh, okay. No, deficit spend all you want. No, there's no such thing as voodoo economics. Oh, yeah, we'll all get rich. What do we call it? We're going to call it the trickle-down effect. Yeah, that's it. And the worst part about this is, a guy like James Brady, I mean, his life was completely ruined because of that. It'd be really curious to see, don't need to get into conspiracy theories and all that crap, but it just sucks that the little guy, he often gets run over. Sure hope I don't become a James Brady, but I will say on like social media and stuff, I'm going, you know what usually happens to the messenger, right? I got a funny feeling I'm the messenger. And I'm like, hey, it's not my fault. I'm just telling you the way it is. So what, Beamish? Lynch him. All right. So how the hell do we deal with this? This is the reality of our world. But I will say, there is a very easy way for you to break this. Number one, I'm a big fan of the neither a debtor nor a lender be. I think that's super important. But number two, if you actually know the rules of the game and you know how to behave, you can control your own behavior, well, you can actually turn the tables on them. And what do I mean by that? I mean, keep in mind, when I did this challenge, my wife had just passed away, and frankly speaking, I really didn't have any reason to be alive whatsoever. Um, the only thing that kept me going was, believe it or not, I know it sounds crazy, but my wife said, she came to me from the other side and she said, Brian, you have an opportunity to make a big difference in this world, but you got to learn how to listen. I mean, that's just as simple as it gets. Um, any of you can do this. I mean, this is kind of fun. And it's actually pretty easy. This was actually an extremely low stress trading plan. But what you have to understand is you have to understand the rules of the game. And if you don't know the rules of the game, you won't be able to do this. You know, like I see a lot of people right now. I saw, I don't mean to be rude, but I saw a lot of people that were collecting like 15, 20%, percentage rates of return and seeing asset prices just continually, endlessly march higher and thinking that this would just never end. And there's an old expression in this world, people. I don't mean to be rude. If something looks too good to be true, it probably is. Now, could you have risked a small portion of your portfolio on something like a Luna and taken advantage of that? Sure, there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, I think I showed everybody, this is the way I would recommend. This is the way I would recommend that you trade this. Let's see if I can show you. Something along this lines. You step in and buy down here. I mean, you tell me. I mean, this is only $60, $70. Of course, we know it went up to 120. I missed my next fucking sell half on a double order by like $1. But even at this point, at $60, $70, can somebody please tell me what's the risk that I have on participating in this investment idea? Well, let's just be honest. This is what I'm trying to teach you people. It's not rocket science, but I'll tell you, it's harder than rocket science to do. Ironically, Zach's the only one who got it. Let's go over on that YouTube page. Actually, is the chatting thing actually working over there? I don't see any chatting stuff over on the YouTube page. Are there people over there? Are they able to chat away? I don't know how to do that. Maybe go over here. Because I wouldn't mind you. Hey, there they are. Oh yeah, okay. So there's lots. I got Adam. Gotta say, I'm really proud of Adam. I think he's going to do very, very well. And there's somebody. Putin didn't start any war. It's so incredible how you can so quickly trigger people in this world, eh? God. I have to say, for a gnarly old, in fact, you know why actually I've been able to do this for as long as I have? I'll tell you, it's this. It comes down to this. It's really, really simple. The reason why I've been able to survive, I mean, I've been doing this now and talking basically like hours and hours of videos and stuff. I mean, like weekly. I mean, God, so much content. It's ridiculous. So why on earth have I been able to survive so much? And the answer is, let's see if I can show you. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? It's in here somewhere. Here we are. This is the number one reason why I've been able to actually survive in this is I don't really think very highly of myself. So I am a very humble person. There's an expression in this world. They say, those whom the gods wish to destroy first make drunk with power. And I literally on a daily basis remind myself that I'm not here for power. I'm certainly not here for glory. I'm on a mission. And actually, it might be one of the reasons why I'm kind of bulletproof to the 1% here is that the money. I mean, fuck, I just had to, you know how much money I had just paid in taxes? Holy Jesus. I mean, the Canadian government should look at me and go, thank you very much, Mr. Beamish, for keeping this country afloat. That's the irony of it all. But I pay all my taxes, and I live in one of the heaviest tax societies in the world. And I got the clean bill of health. Yes, you paid all your taxes. You are a good citizen. Keep on just paying your taxes, slave. But I try to be as absolutely humble as possible. But the irony of it all is that anybody can do this. I mean, it's not rocket science. Maybe this even seems like a bit weird to even see something like this. But my goal here for this fun little experiment, and I made a bet. I don't know whether it was a bet, maybe more like gentleman's bet. When I first got into this space, I said, keep in mind, I just had that horrific nightmare of a situation to get through with my wife and my son. Didn't really have much of a aspiration to do anything. Love the markets. I think I've got some skill to share with the world. So my goal was I was going to spend the rest of my life demonstrating how you can break this model. You don't have to live the life of punch and a clock slavery and the way the 1% just completely takes advantage of you. The key here, though, is there are a bunch of moving parts. And unfortunately, when we're in crappy parts of the cycle, and all of this stuff moves in cycles, don't kid yourself. But when we're in the crappy part of the cycle, you have to put these kind of expectations on the back burner. Then when we get back into the good part of the cycle, then you can start thinking like this again. So it's doable. It's just not right now. This is not the environment. There are some yeah, I think that's probably the best thing to say. It's just there are some times to take risks. There are some times when it's best just to cool your jets and just let the dust settle. And unfortunately, we're in the cool your jets, let the dust settle situation. And also, too, unfortunately, when you get into the environment where people have lost a lot of money because they did FOMO, because they did chase, because they listened to people that said technical analysis doesn't matter, just go and buy and you'll get rich. Use my affiliate code, all that. Other people, and even worse, well, Brian's second rule of investing doesn't matter. This project is solid. You're guaranteed to make money. Throw all your life savings into it. Since when did cryptocurrencies become non-venture capital? Did cryptocurrencies actually get some sort of all right, we are now guaranteed investment vehicles? Are cryptocurrencies even at the point where they're out of commodity sort of thinking? I don't think so. But of course, every cycle, and it happens. I've been through 3 of these now in crypto, folks. So every single cycle is exactly the same. Nothing changes here. And of course, I've played this venture cap game in the stock market, the Vancouver stock market. Hell, I used to know guys who used to be registering domain names when domain names just started out, and they would flip them for 100x returned on their money. Technically, that's a hell of a lot very similar to the sort of speculative nature of the venture cap market. So anyway, point of the matter here is I don't think crypto is really transitioned. And actually, this comes back to what I'm trying to help Raoul Paul here say, because actually he had one of his guests on here, and I even sort of made a reference to it. The Mr. Minak. I really liked his conversation. And unfortunately, Mr. Minak, he kind of made fun of Raul for his love of cryptocurrencies up here, which is adorable. I think Mr. Paul has to learn that cryptos are very cyclical. Yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right, Zach. And really, is that not just capitalism 101? I mean, they do the same thing in the stock market. If anything, all of the guys that were in the bulletin board business, because the bulletin board is sort of the junior crappy stock market down in the States. And of course, in Canada, we have the Canadian Venture Exchange and the Calgary Stock Exchange. It's the exact same thing. I mean, anybody that buys a bulletin board stock in the States, I don't even know whether you realize it or not. It's almost funny. Every single and man, I used to work for PR firms that actually I was the guy stamping the damn stamp on there. There's actually fine print in every single OTC stock that it literally says in the back in the fine print, the directors have no legal obligation to tell you the truth. Regardless of your time horizon, Josh, regardless of your time horizon, they don't have any legal obligation to tell you the truth. They really don't. Anyway, but if you don't want to listen to the Beamish, I'd go listen to Raul Paul. I mean, Raul, I'm not quite sure I agree with. In fact, I don't even know what his investment stance is or what his thinking is. He's interviewing a lot of people, which is cool, and getting a lot of different perspectives. But this gentleman here, this Mr. Manak, he nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. I teach in Sean. I teach in my education program the 17 and a half year fear greed cycle that's based on demographics. And I would make the argument that as the baby boomers were heading into their peak earnings years, which was heading into the turn of the century, that was a growth part of the economy. And I think the economy did pretty well. If you look at any stock index, you can see from, in fact, even if we use the monetarily adjusted index, although I don't know, it doesn't go back for so anyway, let me just do this really quickly. And actually, there is the Japanese stock market, my analysis. Whenever I see W's, I get bullish because W's spit up bombs. So I don't really see too many confirmed M's. And notice every time we do a confirmed M, bang, they just go and bust it out. But I see lots of W's. There's a W, there's a W, a really, really big W. I mean, this is like a 3-month chart. So that's like from 2003 all the way to 2009, carving out that huge W that didn't confirm until we got to 2018. I mean, holy big W's, Batman. But all of these W's are now starting to project all these numbers up top here, Foggenbaum wise. And of course, if we do things like Brian's parking garage kind of thinking, which is stuff that I teach you in the level 1 program, extensions, hopefully you can all see that I do believe we got a date with probably this 2.619, that 4.669, 1.618 to 200%. Right up in here. So that's like 50. Well, actually, it's more than that. That's almost a double. So and like I said, I tried to, not quite sure. I tried to post this. I tried to post it as a TRI post on his video, instantly deleted. So I said, okay, maybe I'll try and post it as me. Just maybe that was it. He didn't want the shill. Instantly deleted. I was like, no, fuck off. I'm trying to help you, dude. I don't get it. Man, I don't know. Maybe he considers myself competition or something. Anyway, so I really, if you want, go watch this gentleman's video. And Mr. Raul Paul, and go listen to Mr. Manak. I think he nailed it. I think it was very, very succinct. And basically the bottom line is and the weird part about it is, of course, like all of you probably were not involved in the market in the last time the market was actually a growth market. Probably that doesn't mean anything to you. You don't even know what a growth economy even looks like. And that's the way the market is designed. The market's designed to take away as much money from as many people as much of the time as possible. That's the job of the market. And it sucks because what it really means is basically transferring your ignorant wealth into the smart money's hands. And usually the smart money is some bankster cocksucker. So anyway, gotta stop swearing so much. So the point here is now you millennials have actually come online. You are now, the baby boomers, I think, have officially been escorted out of the economy. And the millennials, this is now your economy. And the irony of it all is that you guys are all coming to this growth market still thinking in a, oh my God, I got to protect my wealth for whatever I can possibly do. I got to protect my nut. I got to protect my nut, i.e., buy Bitcoin store of value, right? Or buy gold. God, you hear all these people talking about buying gold. I don't mean to be rude. If you want to learn something, I mean, take our education program. This is about as most valuable information you're ever going to get. And trust me, I've been at this game a very long time. If I learned this one tool and did nothing but follow this one simple signal, I would be a bazillion, gazillion, jazillionaire. Of course, do I do that? No. Brian fucking wants to learn everything. So I just keep adding crap to the pile. But this is what's called an outside downside key reversal. Bang! That's about the ugliest sell signal you are ever going to get. And this is in the basket of companies that are in the gold and silver business. This is a horrifically bearish signal. And if gold and silver companies are collapsing here, and you tell me, was that a correct signal? Sure looks like it was correct. This is a weekly price chart. Is this inflationary or deflationary? Thank you, Mr. Cat. Is it? I mean, somebody tell me. I mean, let's don't fight me on this. Just what is reality? And this is where, guys like Peter Schiff, I used to have clients of mine used to drive me nuts. Gold's down $20 overnight. That's a buy signal. Got to get in there and buy some more. What? So, I mean, come on, people. The market is actually screaming at us here. I don't see any of you saying, oh, Brian, outside downside bearish key reversal in gold stocks. Well, that's slightly deflationary. But nobody's going to say that, are they? Why? Because you're all loaded up on all the inflationary proxies. So you don't want to admit that the market is screaming deflation in your face while you're holding your gold stocks, your gold, your Bitcoin that are all supposed to be inflation hedges. I mean, that's the irony of this game, folks. The market is designed to take away as much money from as many people as much of the time as possible. No ifs, ands, or buts. Do you think it's an accident? Okay, maybe let's rephrase this and maybe something that you can learn from this. And please hit the like button, subscribe, ring Colleen's bell. I got to play ball with this silly Google nonsense stuff. So, do what they want to do, and let's make Julian and Stewart and all the TRIers richer than Stink. Great. All that crap, right? And no, that's not the right thing to say. Let's, by hitting the like button, subscribing, ring Colleen's bell, make Google happy. Let's get more people educated in this world. Actually, it's interesting. That's odd. What do you guys see on the screen here? Why is the YouTube showing? What is the YouTube? Oh, maybe it's paused. How the hell do I do this? This is the number one reason why I've been able to blah blah blah. Okay, yeah, there we are. So I wanted to make sure that you guys are seeing the outside downside. I mean, this is such a monstrously bearish signal, and it's almost funny. Have any of you heard Peter Schiff mention the fact that this is an extremely bearish chart pattern that's on the gold market right now? Have any of you heard that? think the latest thing I've heard from him is, hey, I buy more gold. This is even more bullish for gold. It's like, oh, you got to be kidding me. Anyway, this is exactly what's supposed to happen in this part of the cycle. You want to see something else that's supposed to happen too? Actually, I did up all the charts here ahead of time so I could save you guys some time. Boom, boom, boom. This is the boom I want. There we go. This is exactly what's supposed to happen. Boom. US dollar index through the roof. Well, what's interesting about this chart, of course, who can tell me, is this inflationary or deflationary? If you have the US dollar index ripping higher and face ripping higher, Sean, you are incorrect. So it sounds to me like, Sean, you better get your butt into the education program. Absolutely, Josh. Absolutely. Josh says the gold shills, I can't remember exactly. I think the guy's name is Peter Schiff or something like that, are basically okay boomer versions of the crypto shills. The only problem with the crypto shill, I like the idea of investing in Bitcoin because in a weird sort of way, Bitcoin could be a growth proxy. I also like the idea that Bitcoin, in essence, is designed, and I don't think it's an accident at all, but Bitcoin is designed to offset the burr. So somebody said they have to make a drinking game out of every time Brian loses a tab. Because he's every video, Brian's like, okay, now where the hell did I put that damn tab? But where is it? Oh, darn. What did I do with it? No, it's not here. Must be over here. Come on, baby. Come on. I know you're one of these. Yeah, it's this one. Yeah, there we go. So, I mean, maybe what I need to ask you guys is, do you think they're done with the burr? Do you think that's it? They'll never do another one again? So your Bitcoin is your hedge when they do another one. Not if, but when. If I sign up to TRI, can I show up drunk? I suppose. If you pay me money, Mr. Cat, you can come in a tutu and smoke a cigar, as far as I'm concerned, during class. But if you don't pass that level 1 exam, don't go out there bitching that we haven't taught you how to do things like manage risk. We had one guy a few years ago that came on and he was hell bent on establishing a stable coin. That's everything he wanted. He wanted to do a stable coin, wanted to do a stable coin. And that was in the 18 bull or bear, I guess. 17 was the bull, 18 was the bear, and everybody piled into the course in the first quarter 18. And he never bothered to show up for the class. He never bothered to do any of the homework. He never bothered to write the exam. But afterward, he actually wanted to try and sue us. And he would come on, YouTube and, Hangouts and say, you never taught us that. You never taught us about the efficient frontier and diversification. And the other students are like, module 5, I think it was, risk management. You spend like 3 hours barking at you about how to manage risk. So you're more than welcome. And the great part about the course is, technically you have access, especially with the group tutorial documents and stuff and the videos. Technically you have the material, so you could take the course and be completely drunk and come back 6 months later and do the whole thing from week 1 and you still get your money's worth. So that's up to you. I wouldn't recommend it. And of course, I can't remember how it goes. It was so long ago, but we used to have a rule in the prop firm that you weren't even allowed to come to work if it was like the 5 Ds, either depressed, drunk, dead, disheveled, disoriented. I don't know. There was dead. And definitely drunk was one of those. If you were intoxicated, you got no business risking any money whatsoever. I mean, that's just asking for trouble. All right. Anyway, and speaking of which, I mean, I suppose I've been talking about it for a while. We are starting up a new education term shortly. And what we like to do every week, or I guess not every week, every term, is anybody who's watched these videos and is sort of like, yeah, I'd really like to take the course, but unfortunately I just don't have. And the funny thing is technically, shouldn't we be doubling the price of this course now? Just to keep up with this stupid fucking money printing burr nonsense? I mean, $1,000 is actually almost laughable now. So I think this will be the last term that I'm gonna let you guys have this for $1,000 because it's in the inflation world, we definitely have to keep pace. So just be forewarned, the price of this level 1 course will be going up, maybe up to like $1,500 next term. So just be aware of that. But anyway, every term I like to positive karma, have a little contest, just a raffle. So if you are interested, it's a little too late now, but I was sending out tweets earlier today, and Josh was also on the TRI PMA feed touting this, that you could join the raffle and get a free seat in the school. So that's coming up here pretty shortly. Probably a good idea if you're watching this for the first time to follow the TRI at TRI_PMA. And this is a beautiful feed. I'm actually really glad that we've gone this route where we have somebody who actually has a half decent attitude actually running the social media arm for TRI. I mean, I won't sugarcoat it. I'm a bit salty. I'm probably going to get myself in trouble with higher ups because I just keep barking about the Joey Diamonds and all that, criminal activity in this world. And of course, I mean, this guy's sharp as a whip, and it's fascinating now to watch the crypto people now starting to cannibalize each other, which is what usually happens when we go into the bear cycles. They actually start infighting. And they start, nobody's driving Lambos anymore. And now the question is, who can eat another person's lunch? And I think that's the kind of environment that we're in right now, is other crypto people are going to be eating other crypto people's lunch. But anyway, you want a really hardcore look at sort of what the industry players are thinking here right now. What I hear is, hey, that guy's enjoying a ridiculously huge profit margin. Let's go cannibalize his profit margin, which makes sense. That's pretty typical. I do find it interesting that, these videos sort of topped out somewhere around about 1,000 people. If anything, it's probably better that we just sort of keep flying underneath the radar screen. As I told you all earlier, and of course I have a special needs son, so I'm basically his advocate in the world. There's nobody else, and he and I are basically on our own. And of course, we have a whole bunch of government assistance to help with Liam, which is totally awesome. That's why I don't have a problem paying a shitload in taxes. But at the same time too, I'm pretty bitchy with him. So, like I said, I'm a salty guy. But anyway, point of the matter here is I don't have a lot to offer in this world, but I've played this game for 30 years. I know the tricks that they con people into, something's too good to be true, probably is. There is a very specific reason why I have my 2 rules of investing. And if you follow the 2 rules of investing, I don't want to sound like a dick, but doing stuff like this when the market's in speculative mode is actually pretty easy. We're not in speculative mode right now. And the problem is a lot of people are coming to the market, seeing all the fucking Lambos that people bought, because the last cycle, magic internet money, Danny, and all that nonsense. So they chase, and guys, gold-plated steaks. Hey, I want to eat my gold-plated steaks. All right, well, I guess if I use this guy's affiliate code and go and take out a mortgage on my house and buy Bitcoin at 60,000, I'll get to eat steaks on a silver plate or whatever. So, I mean, it's really frustrating for a guy like me because my promise to you guys is, you know what my promise is? I mean, it's going to sound so cheesy, but you know what my promise is? My promise is I'm going to give you the truth. I'm going to tell you that, it's a hard game. This is the game where the rules are incredibly simple. It's not rocket science. No one ever teaches anybody the rules, and I think that's done on purpose. You're actually taught in these education systems stuff that is completely, it actually serves to undermine you. Yes, the most important thing you should do is go out and get a home mortgage. Is it? Is home ownership really in your best interest? For a lot of people, it actually isn't. But my promise to you is that, number one, I'm not going anywhere. I've been doing this for 30, 40 years. Jojo and God have blessed me with this platform where I can actually do this and just speak the truth to you guys, which is so beautiful. Just make damn sure don't get a big fucking head, Brian. Pay your taxes and, be a good bitch and bend over when Joy wants to stick his dick up my ass. Unfortunately, you don't have any choice. He's going to get what he wants. But at the same time, too, I'm not going to sort of enable him. There's a nice little play. So what do you think? Is that a good marketing piece, Josh, what I just said there? We're going to have to go, shut up, Brian, damn. Sorry, everyone. All the ladies just went, oh, Brian. Anyway. But my I'm not going to say that. But my promise to you is at least I'm going to get you the truth. I'm always going to speak to you from a truth perspective. There's some very basic rules. And if you can force yourself to follow the very basic rules, which are extremely difficult to do, but if you can do it, there is a lot of money to be made speculating in the market. And you don't have to live that punching the clock slavery. Look at that. Actually, I don't know where the likes just went down there. Actually, I think somebody just took one of their likes away. I didn't know you could do that. Remember, I used to always watch the thumbs downs, right? And they used to drive me nuts. So I was so happy when Google took away those thumbs downs. But I actually think I saw a thumbs up actually go down there. So I'm sorry. As I said, I'm a salty guy. Some people enjoy the colorful banter. Others do not. But one thing I'm absolutely going to tell you is the truth. Maybe I'll tell you, hey, I just lost 100 G's in the market today. Whatever it is, I will tell you the truth. There's no sense in me bullshitting you people. And the good part about it is actually when, have you guys ever heard the expression, the truth will set you free? Fascinatingly, when you talk from a position of truth, even when you screw up, like One thing actually I like to do with the site when I do my daily briefs is actually show you all the mistakes I make when I'm day trading. I mean, I'm super obsessed with process goals. So every single day trade that I take, I give myself a grade on whether I actually followed the process and how I did. And usually, and ironically enough, when I follow the process and I do everything correctly, usually actually the trades work. And 9 times out of 10, a losing trade, I'll look back and it was something that I just screwed up. And if anything, it should be good that you see a clown like me who actually purports himself as some sort of, I'm not going to use the word expert, but hey, at least I don't, I've made money at this crazy game called trading. At least you see that. And what I really love is the Wednesday show when we predict what's going to happen next week. I mean, if somebody was so good at predicting the future, don't you think someone out there in the world would have seen this Luna train wreck? Doesn't anybody have a crystal ball that saw that coming? It was a pretty big event, wasn't it? Wasn't there a single person out there that went, I predict in April of 2022? And how ironic, right through the lunar eclipse, they destroy this thing called Luna. I mean, you would have thought somebody who actually had a crystal ball would have went, hey, you know what? There's a really cool thing that's just about to happen here. So nobody can predict the future. Nobody. In fact, when I was a broker, we used to say the only people that can predict the future are people that have insider information. So I wouldn't be surprised if there were some people like one gentleman in the lounge here saying it's not an accident what happened. There was actually very coordinated, very colluded, we're going to bring these crypto kids back down to earth event. That's exactly what I think happened there. But you would have thought that if somebody did have a crystal ball, they would have said, oh, you know what, let's say middle of February or something, just said, you know what, probably best y'all just get the hell out of that Luna thing now before you regret it. I didn't hear anybody say that. So don't kid yourself. Nobody can predict the future. Nobody. But that doesn't mean people can't tell you the truth. In fact, I would actually prefer that we see more truth in this world. I can't predict the future. Don't look at me to predict the future. That's not my job. Interesting. So Tomo90 just says there, it's funny how Brian keeps saying he says the truth. Anyone who has been around, we know this. Anyone new here, it's true. He is legitimate. Well, thank you, Tomo. I appreciate that. Far better than any crypto or trading influencer out there. Well, but see, that's the thing is, I don't bill myself as an influencer. I think I told you. I mean, you want to know what I bill myself as? And it's kind of sad because maybe one day I'll actually give myself some credit. But I can't, and it's kind of sucks. But like I said, I don't really have that high of a self-esteem. So, as I told this other person, I look in the mirror and I actually, I blame myself for my wife's passing. Every day I'm alive. So that's why I don't bill myself as what I want is I don't want my wife's life to be in vain because she believed in me and she stuck with me for 18 years. I mean, technically she could have just walked out at any time. So I have to make her investment in me mean something. And that means I got to come to you from a position of truth. I'm trying to help you people. I really am. Sappy. Sorry, guys. This is a happy day. We're going to change somebody's life for the better here. And you know what's super cool about this? The first raffle that we ever did, the guy who won the raffle is like a total TRI OGer, and he's one hell of a trader. And what I found interesting, Josh, I saw that you were interacting with somebody on social media about inverted head and shoulders, and yeah, they were completely wrong. But I didn't want to go too much. All I just said was, yeah, I'd have to agree with you, Josh. You're probably right. You were sort of criticizing that person's look at a head and shoulders. But I think it was an inverted head and shoulders they were looking at. But he won the raffle, very first go. And great part about it is his name's David O. I don't know whether he has a Twitter handle, Josh. If what I was thinking with that interaction you had with the person is David O is now turned himself into just the most killer trader. I mean, he is set for life. He is so good. And he loves head and shoulders patterns. And more importantly, it's so cool watching how he can transition a head and shoulders pattern into a megaphone pattern. And then he knows all the intricacies of, what you really want to see out of the indicators to make sure they're legit and stuff. And so my suggestion was, Josh, if you could do this, I know you're here, is reach out to David on the site. And I'm sure David should watch this. So David, if you could reach out to Josh Morris, it would be cool. I don't know whether David has a Twitter handle. I thought he did, but I couldn't find it. And hook that person up with David. And, like I know you said somewhere in here, and like I said, I sort of said, I agree with you. If anything, what I would love that you say to this person is we've got like literally the head and shoulders expert. I've never met a guy who knows head and shoulders better than David. He is like, he won the contest. Geez, that's probably about 6 or 7 years ago now, maybe even 8. And the guy's been working like day in, day out every day. And, he just found what works with him. He loves head and shoulders and how they transition into megaphones. And I think it would be good that if we could somehow hook up that gentleman with David, and David would be able to help him try and understand. But now I can't find where the hell it is on this thing. So, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's a cool thing. Is the people that win these contests, some of them have gone on to be just absolutely insanely profitable and very, very well what's the word I'm looking for? Served, I guess, for winning the contest. So this might change your life. And it's cool how, term in, term out, we, every term we have one. Probably a good way. And, this is where the marketing team comes in. Okay, guys. They all suggested, Brian, the one thing that we'd like you to do is try and refer to the horse, what's a little bit less, and, try and keep the mouth a little clean. Maybe let's not talk about Mr. Diamond and his obsession with anal sex. But they also said, you really should pop on this page and just randomly pick, like, who's this person? Expander, no idea. Brian, I heard about you 2 years ago, and it's been more than a year since I started to follow you and watching your content. This type of video are amazing. Love how you open up, told your story. Told you. Everything that I do is just about the truth. I know it sucks because, I'll tell you. If I had gone the shill marketing route, I should be, multi-millionaire, billionaire, whatever. Who knows? Fucking gold-plated steaks, all that crap. But I'm pretty humble. Full disclosure, I paid 6 figures income taxes this past year. 6 figures. So, I got nothing to complain about. But had I gone the hardcore shill, referral code and all that crap. But probably I should be paying 7 figures in income taxes. But anyway, I'm okay. I've got nothing to complain about. But the point is that I do like to just be as honest and as truthful and as open with you people as possible. And if it means there is no buy in crypto, then it means there is no buy in crypto. Put your wallet away and just, cool your jets. So anyway, love how you open up, told your story. Of course, everybody knows my motivation to do this website and this service and the direction that TRI is going. You are an amazing person and deserve all the best. Oh, thank you. Appreciate that, Expander. And head down here. Let's look at this guy, Sonny. Actually, I haven't seen you on the site in a while, Sonny. Anyway, the knowledge brought forward by Broiler Beaners is one of a kind, my dear man. I am so grateful that I was one of your personal students in all levels through TRI. And actually, interestingly enough, a lot of our level oneers that win the contest actually go on to buy the level 2 and the level 3. So we come out ahead anyway in the end. But anyway, where's Sunny? All right. It has changed my life, and I am so grateful for being part of this amazing community. Much love, Sunny. Great to. Sunny, I heard that. Did you move? I think you moved to Netherlands, didn't you? Are you still in Belgium? Anyway, I thought I heard Sjord say that he sees you more often, so that's good to see. I mean, it's just randomly. How about this person here? Hope you're doing all right, Brian. You are an inspiration beyond trading and making money. And the irony of what it is that I teach you guys is, believe it or not, a lot of the stuff that I teach you about how to be a good trader is really about how to manage yourself. A lot of the lessons that we learn trying to teach ourselves how to be a good trader serves you really, really well for other aspects of your life, personal relationships, your own personal health, your well-being. To actually be an effective day trader, you have to look after yourself physically. You have to look after yourself nutritionally. So the cool part about what we teach is there are actually a lot of life skills as well. In fact, you know what? That's a really good segue because on the TRI PMA feed, of course, Josh doing just such a great job. He even mentioned the fact that, here, I thought this. Get a little bit clamped. Talks amongst yourselves. Holy Roman Empire is neither holy nor Roman nor an empire. This would be facilitating spirit and JoJo's desire. And more importantly, this would be validating JoJo's investment in me if I could actually finish my life where I actually got incorporated into something like this. And, it's always about trading and all that kind of stuff. But to actually do well at what this clown wants to do down here, you got to set all these things up top here in place. You really do. And the only way that I can actually speak from a position of authority on this stuff is because I have a low functioning child with severe autism. Any of you wondering why I get upset at Alan and his audacity to use the autism crutch is because I have a very low functioning son who is, he's 21 years old, but basically he has the mentality of maybe a 7-year-old, maybe an 8-year-old. Low functioning ASD. And, when I'm done with you guys, I will literally hang up. I will go get myself pretty and I will go spend the rest of the afternoon with Liam. And, while you're listening, while you're watching, I see there's a few people watching this today. Everybody just give a prayer for Liam. Just could you, Spirit, could you put Liam into a good frame of mind this afternoon? Could you, maybe give Brian some karmic support so that while he's out supporting Liam, it was funny. Some guy even said the other day, "Holy crap, your son just decided to take a piss in the backseat of the car," and I'm like, "Yeah, it's just business as usual." So the point here is that I have to live this, Maslow's hierarchy of needs with Liam 24/7, constantly thinking about this, right? So it actually gives me a position of authority to actually talk to you about how important it is to put all of these supports and everything into place for you to be able to succeed at doing something like speculating in the marketplace. Critical. Sorry, I gotta blow my schnoz. And the funny thing about all of this is that you only actually really respect this kind of stuff when we're in this shitty market state that we're in right now. When everybody's, everything's going straight up and you're banging out doubles right, left, and center, and guys are talking about making 6-7 figures, and oh my God, it's just the best thing since sliced bread. And you have crypto personalities coming on Twitter feeds to thousands of people, and it's like fucking fuck you banksters, fucking. Well, in those kind of environments, your job actually is just to enjoy the ride. Right? Make damn sure to pay yourself as the market's moving higher. But that's not actually when all this hard work really pays off. This stuff pays off in this kind of market state where you got to somehow keep a level head, and you have to understand that, ironically enough, all of this stuff moves in a sine wave. So if by definition this stuff moves in a sine wave, and we can just use any old image. Oops. The cool part about it is sites like TradingView actually let you draw these kind of fun images so you can understand what I'm talking about. There we are. So if all of this stuff moves in a sine wave, this is our existence. It really is. So, you guys, this is like, this is, and probably the easier reference for you to all understand, right? This is dog money. And where's Mr. Dog Money now? Is he going to give back anybody who bought dog money up at 60, 70 plus cents? Is he going to give them their money back? I don't think so. But you have to understand that for every dog money market, there has to be a correction. It's the law of physics. What goes up must come down. Matter can neither be created nor destroyed. I mean, it's physics 101. If anything, half of my life I spent trying to figure out this image. Why, if theoretically we're all, part of this universe, matter can neither be created nor destroyed, how on earth does this just keep going up and up and up and up and up and up? Something must be something. This can't keep going up and up and up and up and up and up and up. Something must be being manipulated about this to make it go up and up and up and up and up and up and up. And, the reason why this goes up and up and up and up and up and up is because every single politician alive today says they will not be the next Herbert Hoover. Where Herbert Hoover at exactly this point said, you invest in stocks and you lose money? So what? You're a stupid speculator. Who cares? Go out and get a job. Do something constructive. Earn a couple bucks. Don't go and speculate in the stock market. And of course, all those people that did speculate in the stock market, remember, everybody and their brother gets pulled in. FOMO, dog money. It's the same thing, different pile. Nothing changes with this stupid human species. And the worst part about it is this serves the banksters, right? Because they run the money supply. So they, of course, encourage the public to buy. And then, of course, they pull the market, they pull the rug out from underneath the market, and down they go. They all get margin called. And then the banksters come in and buy it all down at the bottom and do the whole damn thing over again. And I might argue that, exactly what you're seeing in the stock market right now, especially with what we saw out of that 2020 event. This is exactly what's going on right now. No difference. So the point being that every single democratically elected politician who's not a bankster, they're a politician. Herbert Hoover was a politician. These guys are career politicians. The only thing they care about, I mean, let's, and I was thinking about this. It's actually really simple. If you call yourself a career politician, what's the only thing that matters? There's only one thing that matters. And frankly speaking, it's not policy. There's only one thing that matters. That's cool. Somebody's got a nice sailboat. Motoring back to my harbor in rain and cold, listening to BB ain't a bad way to get through 8 hours in the rain and fog. Well, Jordan, I guess life's tough there for you, buddy. Way to go, I guess. Nice job. If you need a crew one day, let me know. All right, so what was the question I asked you guys? What's the number one priority of a democratically elected politician? Make sure that they get reelected, right? That's the only thing that matters to them. If you're a career politician and you don't get reelected, there goes your career. So they all said, no way I'm going to be a Herbert Hoover because I want to keep my job, even though Herbert Hoover was like, you speculate in the stock market and you lose money, that's your own damn fault. So now we live in this world where now, and the worst part about this world that we live in now is it's gotten so bad with all the money borrowing and money printing that now we can't even have a recession. Heaven forbid we actually let the system correct itself, and all these banks that lent out money that they should have never done, heaven forbid that these institutions get held to task for lending out this money. Heaven forbid we let that happen. And the worst part about it is my little girl finance minister in my country, what she says? She says, the reason why a single family home in Vancouver, which is an absolute piece of garbage, and frankly speaking, is an instant teardown, is $2.5 million, is because our country is just so great. And everybody in the world wants to move to Canada and buy a house. That's why nobody can afford a single family home. It's really easy. All the new people that coming to Canada, they're going to kick you out of your house. Sorry, too bad. And are you going to do anything about the hyperinflation prices? Well, no, if it's purely supply and demand, and there's so many international people that want to pay $2.5 million for a house you really can't even live in, so be it. It's like, you got to be kidding me. Like, this is what I mean by this woman is just being played. She doesn't even understand how ludicrous her argument is. Lie better, right, Josh? That how do you justify, and keep in mind, like Canada, here's Canada's image as far as I'm concerned right now. Oh, I thought I had it on here. Oh, now we go hunting for the tabs. Always fun to try and find the tab. Joshua and his drinking game. There's Canada right now. And the worst part about Canada, right? There's our bond market. I mean, the silly politicians in my country right now actually believe that they can spend as much money, they can print as much money as they please, and it won't make a rat's ass difference. Well, friends, this is the price of Canadian government bonds. keep in mind, these governments have to issue a new bond every time they want to float more debt. So they're issuing the bonds at lower and lower prices. What does that mean? How much debt? Like, let's say they want to raise $1 billion. They want to, and that's just silly idiot numbers, right? Last century numbers, $1 trillion, right? Well, let's say they want to raise $1 trillion a year. Well, okay, that might be X amount of bonds. Down here, that's going to be like, well, 10, 20, 30% more bonds, more debt that they have to issue just to raise the same amount of money. So this becomes a vicious spiral. And of course, these governments are running deficits. So it's like every single, and what kills you is that the media, they're also owned by the banksters. The media says, well, we should be proud of ourselves. The deficit is falling. Well, hello, it's still a deficit, right? You're still spending more money than you're bringing in. Oh, yeah, but we're actually doing a lot better job. We're spending less, but you're still running a deficit. Oh, yeah. But, oh, don't mention that. Don't mention that. I mean, this is the emperor's new clothes. Even the people in government don't even realize that, number one, they are actually, this is exactly like the lunar spiral, Alfonsi. It actually is. It's identical because they're just going to have to issue, kind of like what Luna did. Luna tried, I guess, just to print a bazillion gazillion coins to dilute whatever the old holder of the Luna coins their holdings. I think that's what happened there. But anyway, they are going to have to issue more and more and more bonds. Ironically enough, there's your Jupiter Saturn cross event. I hope you all learn from this. And what I'm fearful of now, and this is why I do not want to own any Canadian dollars. I remember in this crisis right here, when there were even some U.S. protectorates, Guam, Puerto Rico, that were dying 1,000 deaths through the crisis. And in Powell testimony, and theoretically part of the U.S., sir, can we participate in this bailout? No, but you are. So what? That's the whole point of us being part of a U.S. territory. So what? Who cares? You're not part of the U.S. You're not a state, so we don't really care. Well, if that's the case, then how about a country that's not even associated? I mean, yes, we have trading relationship, but hey, you saw what Mr. Trudeau and Mr. Trump's relationship was like. How do you think relations between Canada and the United States are right now? I'd say a little bit tested, right? So when Canada goes and blows up its books, and of course we all know that Canada is a commodity-based country. So if commodity prices are high, okay, your currency will do okay. What did we say earlier was happening in the gold market? Is gold a commodity? Is that a bearish sign? So if that's the case, what should probably be happening to the Canadian dollar? Well, hello. What do we say if you ever see the market smiling at you? Is that a good sign, or is it maybe a dangerous sign? Where's our little drawing things? There we go. Boop. I mean, how many smiles do you want? There's one. Uh-oh. There's another one. Uh-oh. Do you see how this is basically all open air here? Oh, boy. And then really, I might argue that really probably all the way down into here. There's no reason why that can't happen, especially if we have a topping out of commodity price, because basically the whole world's going to go into a massive global recession, maybe even depression. So in a weird sort of way, you can kind of see that all of this is going to become a self-fulfilling prophecy. If we said that a commodity currency like Canadian dollar is emming out, smiling at us, which is bearish, what does that imply for inflation going forward? Is that inflationary or deflationary? So in a weird sort of way, locally for Canadians, this is horrifically inflationary. They're in big trouble. And can you imagine how do you feel if you were like Joe Sixpack, and this is so classic Asian economy? I remember through the Asian contagion and the seven tigers of Asia back in the 90s, identical. On the way up, buy, 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 buy. And what was the general trend in the Canadian housing market through here? Was it some sort of insane blow off top? $2.5 million for a fixer upper that, God, I wouldn't even want my mother living in there. Is that realistic? Is that normal? Is that healthy? Is it sustainable? So what happens if Joe Clown, and on this site I went through a really simple analogy, I think a week or so ago, about interest rates and the effect of mortgage payments on the recent increase in interest rates. What do you think the guy who bought the house a year or so ago, 2 or 3 year adjustable rate mortgage, how do you think he's feeling right now? Knowing that he bought a 2 year, maybe 3 year if he's lucky, adjustable rate mortgage, which means that in 2 or 3 years, he's going to have to go to the bank and get another mortgage. You think he's going to be able to survive this increase in payments? This is almost like if you look at the actual interest, 30-year. I can't really show you the Canadian one. I know I had the symbol around somewhere, but here's the US one. I mean, you tell me, are his monthly payments going to go up slightly? I mean, this is even year, so anywhere down in here. That's like 2.5. Oh, yeah, that's 3. Here's 5.3% right now. So that's like double 2.75. So that's double all this area in here. So if anybody went and got a mortgage anywhere down in here, instantly they have to go and refi, right? Because all these damn banks, they sucker everybody into these 2-3 year adjustable rate mortgages. They're literally going to have twice the monthly payment that they had before, if not more. Do you see how they've basically set this up as an absolutely perfect trap? And any international investor that was like, you know what, the market's really hot, let's go buy that Canadian real estate, it's going straight up. Does it not make sense that they're going to look at this and go, you know what, just sell the damn thing, get my money the hell out of there? What's that going to do to the demand for Canadian dollars? This got disaster written all over it. And so this is the number one reason why I do not want to own any commodity-related currencies. Now, I don't mean to be rude. And of course, Brian tries to be as friendly as possible about this. But we've talked lots about this cycle before, right? And ironically enough, in Bitcoin, it's the same. The cycles are stunningly simple. And really all you got to do is just set your watch to somewhere between a year to 6 months ahead of the halvening event. We know when the next halvening event is, roughly. So do we have any business about buying Bitcoins here now? I don't think so. So we know from sort of a timing perspective that if we sort of thought, 6 months to a year prior to the next halvening event, well, that brings us about sort of, ironically enough, it's just about exactly 1 year from today, which kind of sucks. Actually, it's the middle of May now, so no, it's not that bad. It's like, 10 months from now. So can all of you just sort of kick back and do nothing for the next 10 months? I know. Why not do something crazy like invest in yourself? Take the next year and complete the TRI education program and become just an absolutely killer trader and go out and just own the world. And we built some pretty damn good traders. That's a shameless plug. Yes, I know. But hey, we got our school term coming up. And frankly speaking, I think it's in your best interest to try and teach yourself best practices. So, ultimately, and you guys have heard before, I love buying off 78.6s. Notice that's a Wyckoff check of these old highs. That would be sort of A, B, C, D, take us right down into these bottoming levels. And then, if we start applying some basic sort of cost of production models. Uh, One gentleman on the site who said he's very, very efficient at mining. He can pull off sort of sub $10,000 cost of production. Other people who I think industry standards are sort of sitting somewhere between $10,000 and $20,000 of cost of production right now. One thing that bothers me immensely, though, is I have seen people do this. I saw them do this last cycle, where you had these cost of production models come up, and through this summer, where we're sort of like halfway through the correction period, and you can see this on the cycle, that was this 1 year of thumping, and you can see 1 year of thumping. That's what I expect. The previous cycle, oh, what a surprise. 1 year of thumping. Can't even see it. It's so small, right? There we are. I mean, ironically enough, the cycle is actually there's 6 months to 1 year prior to the halving. Get in there and start accumulating. So notice that dump about 1 year. What I'm worried about is last cycle, the dump took about a year, and I toured through Europe through this, and everybody that I the public that I met in Europe, they all convinced themselves $6,000 base cost of production. Then what do? Right into October, November, December, the worst part of the year, they knock it down, literally knock it in half. And I could very easily see them doing exactly the same thing here, where 20,000, everybody's going to be like, yep, that's the cost of production. And I even see it on social media and stuff. People are already starting to tout 20,000 cost of production. This one, something like this. This was 6,000. Yeah, 6,000. And then all of a sudden, boom, into the end of the year, they knock it in half. And that's what scares me immensely, is this is exactly the window that I think we're going to go through now. Notice their model. Oh, yeah, cost of production. You could justify here. And I think, and it would make perfect sense, somewhere around that 20, 25,000, that kind of idea. Our floor here in the short term, it goes sideways, maybe rallies back to 30, 40, 50 Gs. And then one more kick in the shins, knock it down 50% from that 20 down to 10,000, maybe 10, 15,000, somewhere in that area. Boom, there's your floor. Break everybody's heart into early next year. And then we start the process all over again. To me, that's exactly what I think is going to happen here. So, I mean, it is what it is. All I would just simply say is I find it incredibly coincidental. There is our 78.6. You know how Brian's told you repeatedly, usually W's come in off of that damn 78.6 down the road. You can see how it happened last cycle. This isn't rocket science. There's 78.6. Look how the W came in right off that damn level. Previous cycles, same thing, just drives you crazy. There's 78.6. There's the bottom off of 78.6. I mean, it's so cliche. It's nuts. In fact, I think even this move was a 78.6 of this range right here. See if this will rescale. I don't know whether it was or not. Maybe not. 78.6. Son of a gun. Anyway, point here is that it's pretty consistent. I don't know. Maybe you go off of that low there. Anyway, there's 78.6. Didn't really W there. But if anything, you know what, which is really interesting, I think that this cycle looks more like this than any other cycle, which means that we look something like this. Now, one thing that really surprised me, notice, of course, I think this is what's happened here. Boom, break that. Well, there. So, bubbity-boo, bubbity-boo, shaboosh. Bubbity-boo, bubbity-boo, shaboosh. I don't know whether that lines up or not, but it sure looks awfully close. I guess that would have been off of that low there. Actually, maybe that makes sense. It's actually not unrealistic. Something like that. That low there. lines up with that. Actually, that lines up with that low there, right? So we could probably just put this there and then that there. So those two trend lines now line up. So, we got, as I said, and then there's that Simon Dixon guy, right? And he just simply says, anytime Bitcoin gets more than 70, 80% correction, just start buying. It's pretty simple. It's not rocket science. So, just there's the chart. High, low, 17,289. I'd be willing to place a bet with anybody right now. Take me up on it. We'll call it a gentleman's bet. Maybe I'll bet you 1 Satoshi or something. I'd be willing to bet that we're going to look back over time. We're going to see the goddamn market's going to W right off that 78.6. I don't know if it happens like this. Can't predict the future. But my hunch is we bottom off of that. But we'll see how it goes. Only time will tell. So, same sort of conversation as the gold. Now, price falling down like this. Let's just do a little review of what I just said here today. What kind of economic backdrop would suggest that price of Bitcoins can fall like this? What am I going for here? Can anybody read my mind? Anyone? No? Remember we talked about gold earlier? What message are we getting from the market here? Is this Brian, we have a serious inflation problem? Or is this, Brian, we have a serious deflation problem? And this is the interesting thing about this entire cycle. Yeah, I would just, to be perfectly honest with you, I would leave shitcoins alone. Just shitcoins are just, they just did nothing. And I wouldn't be surprised if sites like Trex and stuff go through another one of their stupid culls. And I wouldn't even be surprised if a lot of these centralized exchanges actually go out of business. Like, I can literally see, like, Coinbase's little reference there the other day saying that, oh, by the way, if we go bankrupt, we keep your coins. This guy here, he's going to eat Coinbase's lunch. And frankly speaking, Trex hasn't done even remotely, not even like a shadow of the business that they used to do. I would be very surprised if 5 years from now you actually even saw Trex was still in business, because I don't know what their profitable business model is. And they just keep delisting more and more and more of their shit coins. So it's just painful as hell. I wouldn't even be surprised if by the end of the summer, I'm actually, the whole Trex experience is over. So just be aware of that, folks. But, oh boy, Zach says something about Kobe. Whenever, what's Kobe saying? Is Kobe saying that we're going to all go to hell in a handbasket? Survey says, boom, 90% of the trendy alt level ones will fail to remain ecosystems, and anything that will struggle with funding will disappear. There you go. So good old Crypto Cobain, at least he's not bullshitting you. I do like that about him. So there you go. Actually, well, funny you should ask. Maybe, I mean, I've been blabbing away here for a couple hours. Do you want to keep? Should we jump into the raffle? I will say that the whole point of this page, Joseph over there is like, how do we register for the course? So, I mean, Joseph, are you a plant? Is that really Josh? Are you logged into a different name? That almost feels a little suspect. That's funny. And the guy who's actually running the website, he's actually saying that, and there's something screwing there. Anyway, to answer your question, Joseph, if you are actually a real person, how do you enroll in the course? We actually have the enrollment window open for a very specific period of time every term. Why? I'm not exactly sure. I do know that if you go to this page, you can register and you can see basically you will be, for lack of a better term, you're going to be sent an invitation. So if you sign up here, put your name, your email address, you'll get a pretty write-up saying you are formally, as soon as the registration window is open, you are formally invited to register for the class. So I don't know whether we have this link. I'll put it in the lounge. Please, come on the website, TRI, do the 30-day trial, and you can just come up to the top of the dashboard page and click that link and join the wait list. I'm not exactly sure. I think while we're doing this, we'll leave this at that. So just all you do, just pop on this page, fire your name down, you'll get a nice polite list. List? No, that's not the right. Invitation. And what'll end up happening here is once we're done the raffle today, keep in mind we'd like to get as many people to potentially win the raffle. So we encourage you to sign up there. So the ticker will start. Keep in mind, class officially starts basically next weekend. So ticker will start here 1 week, and it will just count down. And then through the week, our marketing department will just send you a whole bunch of sort of, these are some of the things, these are some of the benefits of participating. And of course, it's to encourage as many people to sign up as possible. Very typical marketing, the way this internet marketing stuff works. It's actually, to be perfectly honest with you, I don't even really want to get involved in this. This is just to make sure that the lights stay on at TRI. Sjord and his CTO team, they cost money. The instructors, they cost money. All that fucking quote services and everything, it all costs money. It's expensive as hell. So we actually have like a marketing department, and really I leave it in their hands. And to be perfectly honest with you, to be perfectly honest with all of you, this is all in JoJo and Spirit's hands. If they want TRI to continue, I will continue. If you want me to continue doing this, I will be encouraged to continue doing this. We get to the point where you guys are like, yeah, Brian, you're just full of hot air. We don't really need to listen to you anymore. We don't have anybody sign up for the school. Then the website will slowly just fade away. And that's perfectly fine. I'm totally happy with that. In fact, it'll free up my life. I can go and maybe do things. Somebody said, well, Brian, are you thinking about writing a book? I suppose at some point I should write a book, right? I got a couple stories to tell. In fact, I even know what the book's title's called. It's called Frayed Shirt Sleeves and Tuna Fish Sandwiches. And that's a shout out to my old mentor, a guy by the name of Jack Zion. So, as a movie once said, if there was going to be a party, it would be at the House of Zion. It's kind of a funny correlation. It's not really the same, but anyway, so the point is to answer your question, and I'm sure Chris has in the video description the link. This is how you sign up, and it's a wait list because we obviously don't want the, well, yeah, it just do as you please. I'm not going to say it's obvious one way or the other. It's the way the marketing team has decided to do this. So there you go. All right. So as you guys know, and was there anything else I really needed to talk to you guys about? I guess a couple things. Number one, there was a question on the every week, for whatever it's worth. You guys have watched quite a while. Every week while the school is in, I give everybody the opportunity to ask me questions directly who's in the school. And we have a little Q&A document that we sort of pass around. And of course, anybody who's a site member, and now you get a little bit more attention because school's not in. But you're more than welcome to add your question to this. Kind of like an AMA kind of session. That's what this is supposed to be. Of course, Brian sits here and babbles on endlessly about nothing. So the point being that this is, and I suppose we'll have to change this to Q2 now. And I don't know, maybe do we use the same document? I don't know. I'll leave that up to Sharky and the crew. Maybe we start a brand new document. But Chris told me that there was one question in here. So maybe we'll answer this. Then I'll just sort of, is there any general questions that I didn't answer that should be answered? And then I got to head off and get pretty for the ball. Okay, so the question is, why is the the DXY, which is the US dollar index, but why is it climbing higher? And I would say the answer is because people perceive that the best place to park their money in the world right now is in US dollars, and more importantly, in US treasuries. Simple as that. And really, what drives currencies? And most people don't understand this. Is there one thing in particular that will drive the fate of a currency? And it's actually pretty simple. And yet, most people can't get this. It drives me nuts. I'd be curious just to see if you guys, any site veterans, let's see if any of you even have listened to me over the years. What is it that drives currency prices and valuations? I wonder if you do that and Google goes, oh, that's copyright. Anyone? Any of you YouTubers? And I'll do you a favor. The easy way for you to figure this out is you got to use the Wayback Machine. You got to go. And we probably should put the. Actually, I don't even know if it is .com. Probably isn't. You got to put the. I think I got to put the document in the library and stop using this Wayback Machine because at some point it's going to disappear. But Wayback Machine. So okay, there you go. And you type in ladies with large breasts. No, that's not what you type in. Gee whiz. That's when you're not recording, Brian. All right, there's my old .ca website. This is actually, I used to use this when I was a broker. So you can see up until 2019, then Seard said, can you please kill that website? It's bugging me. I said, okay, fine. Anyway, when I was actually a broker here, this is when JoJo did what her wonderfulness is. But let's go January 2016. Doesn't really matter. In my library, when I used to talk to potential commodity customers, here's my 1980s website. Hey, if anybody can figure out, I suppose when we get quantum computers, if somebody can figure out how to hack this, I used to have this Bitcoin donation button, but I lost the password to this. So there's like a quarter of a Bitcoin on this thing, but I have no idea how to get to it. Anyway. All right, so I used to put these reports out for my commodity clientele. So the answer to the $64,000 question was, the question was, what drives currency prices? And the answer is short-term interest rates. Why? Because really, it's as simple as supply and demand. If I'm a European and I'm sitting on $1 million, what happens in that world if I leave that $1 million in I don't know, Christine Lagarde short-term paper? What kind of rate of return do I get from holding Euro T-bills right now? I think they actually charge me. I think they have negative interest rates, don't they? So the point being that I don't want to hold my paper in euros. That's a losing proposition. Right now, what's the US interest rates? Well, they're starting to rise, aren't they? How about the trend going forward? If I keep my money in US dollars, is it likely that they're going to keep rates up? Maybe they're even going to raise their rates even more. Does that give me incentive to own US dollars? I think so. That's literally how it works, folks. It's really, really simple. So here's an image. This was taken from May 2009. If I was going to have my money, that $1 million sitting there, which country ought I to have my $1 million sitting in? Don't fight this. It's pretty straightforward. Can anybody tell me? If I was going to have my money in any of these currencies, which one should I have my money in? Thank you, Zach. I don't have a lot of hoop jumpers today. The lady with the large breasts. Yes, I'm gonna keep my. I'll give my money to her. Oh no! Oh no! I see somebody saying Do Kwon right now, so obviously the space is still very much wrapped up in that. Mind you, that was a tweet from 2013. So, or beg your pardon, May 13th, just a couple of days ago. So maybe that's a bit old. Nobody over on YouTube? I mean, come on. It should be as straightforward as straightforward gets. So the question ultimately is, right? The proof of the pudding's in the eating. So, hey, hello, Shumba. You're over there on the lounge. So, what happened to the Australian dollar following May 2009? Right? Because if the Australian dollar went down following May 2009, you'd say, Brian, you're full of horse shit. So let's go see what happened. What is it? It's 6A, 1 exclamation mark. I think that's what it is now. Yeah, there we go. Boom. Well, what happened? Here is April, May. I was right there when I did the report. What happened to the Australian dollar following that event? Was that a correct analysis? That people are likely going to be moving their money into Australian dollars to capture that yield? Do you understand how this game works? This is actually what they call the carry trade. It's actually a really simple trade. Where all I'm going to do is I'm just going to go and borrow money in the American market at 0.25%. I'm going to then go into the Forex market and buy Australian dollars. And with those Australian dollars, I'm going to go and buy the Australian government's T-bills that are paying 3% interest. And let's say it's like a 90-day T-bill. Then at the end of that 90 days, I'm going to look at this image again. I'm going to see that it still cost me 0.25%. Maybe it's changed, but it probably wouldn't. So maybe I'll even borrow more and keep doing it. And that's the one thing about institutions is that they're greedy as fuck. And so they just keep doing the trade over and over and over and over and over until now. Let's take a look. I'd be just curious. Somebody go and find me what are Australian short-term interest rates now. And given what the Americans and Mr. Powell is doing right now, does it make sense that people are probably borrowing money in Australian dollars at like no interest and going and buying US dollars, i.e., remember, this is just another Forex pair. That's what makes up this thing. The US dollar index is basically a basket of all of these currencies. But in essence, go and borrow Australian at really, really low short-term interest rates and go and invest my money into US T-bills and just capture that yield difference. That's exactly what's going on here, I think. So I hope that helps answer the question. Why is the DXY climbing higher? It's simply because the Americans are paying a pretty good rate on short term paper. The rest of the world is paying you nothing. In fact, some places in the world, they're actually charging you to keep your money in their currency. If you ever see a central bank charging you money to keep their money in that currency, what do you think the direction of the currency should be? Should it be up or should it be down? Anyone? I want to show you. Should be down. Thank you, Chris. And what has the euro been doing? Is that a bull or is that a bear? Looks to me like this thing's got a long way to go to the downside. So I don't want to go and shop for Portuguese real estate until we hit this low because I got a whole bunch of Luna. I read that. Sorry. I got a whole bunch. Oh, maybe that's a Freudian slip. I got a whole bunch of US dollars. Is the US dollar the same value as the Luna? I don't know. But when I look at this euro and I mean, it's incredible. The inflation that's going around the world and that fucking mouthpiece, Christine Lagarde, a lawyer by trade. She's not even an economist, doesn't really understand how economics works. She's a lawyer. She's not a banker. She's a lawyer. Why is anybody listening to her to get actually financial advice? It makes no sense to me at all. Anyway, you're trying to tell me there's no inflation in Europe right now? Are you serious? And they still have the audacity to have negative interest rates? Come on. What's actually really going on here? I would actually argue the whole negative interest rates is the Europeans are like, my God, this currency is too damn strong. Get it down, get it down. And they've got it to the point where you will actually be penalized for owning euros. You are actually penalized. That's crazy. That's the danger of, we're not in a market-based economy anymore. We're in a highly controlled, highly Orwellian, highly Big Brotherian, highly, the Rothschilds would love this. They would absolutely love this environment. This is perfect for them. They say, and here's the tragedy of all of this, is that it doesn't matter if it's a right-wing totalitarian dictator. Then the banksters say, go and spend all the money you want on war and go wage war. Yeah, I would imagine, Manuel, it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. That's for darn sure. And I am shopping and I would like to see prices fall. So if anything, what we have to see is we have to see them break the back of the economy, which is what I think that the U.S. Federal Reserve is trying to do right now. And keep in mind, this is exactly what they did back in 1980, same thing. So I'd like to see this play itself out. This should literally break the back of the world economy, and we should start to see all of the world economy start to fall apart. Party, party. Because remember, who's in control of this society? Do you actually think the MMT people are in control of this society? Come on. Who's in control of this society? I've already mentioned his name a couple times today. Initials JD. They run this society. where does JD work? Does he work for the Bank of England? Or maybe we should say, does he work for the banks of Europe? Or does he work for the banks of the United States of America? I mean, let's call a spade here, folks. I mean, you could argue this is half of why Vladdy's doing what he's doing. Because he doesn't want to live in that world. Where basically, like I've said earlier, the worst part about it for Ukraine is, Ukraine might hold on to its freedom, but it's literally going to be a slave to all these banksters for the rest of its existence. They are going to be so deeply in debt that, having American politicians' sons appointed to their boards of directors of gas utilities is nothing in comparison to what's coming down the pike for them. But anyway, that's here nor there. This is the story of our existence. Okay, so hopefully you understand this is just purely a math numbers. This is just nothing more than Europeans are paying you nothing. The Japanese are paying you even less than nothing. The Americans are actually starting to raise rates. And so as a result, everybody's going to pile into the US dollar and they're going to get paid that short-term interest rate. And the US dollar index is going to go crazy to the upside if it hasn't already. I mean, keep in mind, we've already gone a long, long way here. If anything, hopefully you all look at this image and go, gee whiz, I guess when I see these big W's on these, currency proxies, that's a huge sea change. And isn't it fascinating that through here, when I said I was a US dollar bull, people basically thought I was crazy. They literally thought I was mentally insane. And yet, turns out I was actually more right than I even thought I was going to be. Ironically enough, and this is always my case, is I always say that I'm usually right, but I'm usually early. So my cycle shift and all the stuff that I teach my people was actually, ironically enough, the US dollar bottomed at the end of 2017 and the beginning of 2018. This is actually, in my opinion, where your millennial generation actually started. But the problem here is that, does it not make sense that this would be too easy? That this W is basically the bottom and we go straight up from here. The banksters need to just, we got to really, we have to encourage everybody to sell the US dollar as much as possible, especially world citizens and all that. And yet, ironically enough, I hope you can see that all of this, right? This was Mr. Trump's insurrection. Can you see how we didn't actually do anything other than just come down and test Brian's lows in the US dollar index? This is still a bull. Nothing's really changed here. If anything, remember I made reference to David O earlier. My hunch is he'd probably look at this and say this was the Adam and this is the Eve. And actually, this is actually a very technically normal move. Really, really basic stuff. So that's the irony of all this. All right, Tolga says, one question. When you will be buying Portugal at the end of the euro dollar down move, and Portuguese citizens will be already run to real estate and the real estate prices will be high also, isn't it? Their prices went up, but the interesting thing is that, just here's a really simple analogy, Tolga. There's no easier way to explain this than to actually show it. I would be more than happy to build the campus here in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. But look at this. I mean, this is pathetic. I mean, it is actually pathetic. That's the only way to describe this. And Tolga, I don't know whether maybe you weren't around the site when I went through this. Like this bimbo here. Well, the reason why Canada's housing prices is so high is because everybody loves us, and we're the popular kids' table in the cafeteria. That's stupidity. I mean, look at this. This is the actual prices of Canada. Is that sustainable? There's the personal incomes. Is that sustainable? Come on. It's is really, really bad economics to listen to this bimbo say that the reason why Canada's house prices are so high is because we're so popular. That's just stupid. But this is what I'm trying to point out. And this is a bubble. There's no doubt about it. This is the end of the bubble. And this is exactly what's supposed to happen in the bubble. But, like, hey, you want to rent a one bedroom apartment? There's your one bedroom apartment in Vancouver, $750 a month. And you get one bed and a room that has no windows. But hey, at least it's big enough to have the bed in it. What? Give me a break. But like, if you wanted to buy a house, this is ridiculous. And it's just such a typical bubble top image. I hope I can find it for you. How long ago was it? Come on, you're in here somewhere. Anyway, we put out a tweet showing a single family home in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. Dirt cheap, $2.5 million. What? Darn. Anyway, it's in here somewhere. As you can see, I think I tweet too much. Darn. It's such a cool image. How long ago did I do that? Maybe I could get good at like actually it's just right before this one. That's the real estate market collapsing in the other part of the country, which makes sense. That's what should happen. This is a luxury market, so as a result, it'll probably still be well bid. The rich always make money, cocksuckers. Okay, there you go. So, Tolga, you got 2.6 now, 2.6 million, not even 2.5. You got $2.6 million. What do you think? Do you think I could build a nice TRI campus in that piece of shit? So this is the definition of a bubble. And this, frankly speaking, that's embarrassing. I mean, that's borderline criminal what's going on there. Now, I'm over in Portugal. Now, remember, Portugal just went through an absolute destruction. So does Portugal have that sort of, we got to inflate the economy to get rid of the old debt? Well, no, because the old debt exploded and basically the economy collapsed. So nobody's interested in propping up Portugal anymore. Why? Well, because it's already gone bankrupt. And as a result, look at this. This is ridiculous. $2.6 million. Or I could go to Portugal and look at this piece of shit. You can't fucking do anything in this. It's garbage. Or I could go to Portugal and for €500,000, I can buy an 8-bedroom operating bed and breakfast where literally I could be teaching you guys this out by the pool for not even a fifth of the price. Do you see what I'm saying here, Tolga? This is an 8-bedroom operating bed and breakfast just sitting there going, the people who probably own this are like, I want to retire. I've had enough. I want to sell the business. Could not TRI just go over there, buy that, and just boom, we now instantly have a bed and breakfast where I could maybe charge you guys to actually learn how to trade in person with the Beamish over a 2-week, 3-week period. And all you people and TRI people become the bed and breakfast customers. Sounds like a pretty good life to me. And do you see the price? Do you get it, Tolga? Does this make sense? So, on that note, I think I'll probably leave the rant for today. One more thing to do before we leave. Whose life are we going to change? Dun, dun, dun. All right. So we have, as I told you at length, we have our school program coming up here. We do a raffle, and there are our raffle contestants. Pretty full list, eh? So good to see you guys were interested. So, how do we want to do this? Chris, can you give me a drum roll? I don't know. I guess I should do like some sort of
difficult, but here you go. I don't know if you can hear that with Google or not.
No, Google's screwing us, man. Oh God. Oh well, who cares? All right, I don't know whether you can hear this or not, but I'll go. And the winner is. Now I have to hit the button. Winner of our Q2 2022 raffle. Oh, Tristan Griffiths. Woo-hoo. Way to go, Tristan Griffiths. What did I win? What do I win? I don't know. Big punch in the nose. All right. Tristan, if you're watching, awesome. Actually, you know, I thought it was really cool. And I think we'll probably do this for future terms. And somebody's like, finally, God, he stopped talking. But I think what we'll do is Josh said in the future, you have to be attending the actual presentation to actually claim your seat. But we'll be kind to Tristan. Tristan, are you here? I don't know whether you're here or not, but we will say, we'll leave the your name and the screen capture, of course, there is in the lounge, and everybody can see it on the YouTube video. So get in touch with us, Tristan. You have basically a week to get your button gear and get registered and hook up. I can't remember who it is that we have you hook up with. Maybe you could even, Chris, you maybe want to keep an eye out on the YouTube feed to see whether he actually is like, woo woo. We also have you, of course, email. So maybe we'll send out an email. Maybe Josh, if you're still around, maybe you could send him an email in all your emails, things and stuff. And congratulations. And I sure hope, Tristan, you take full advantage of this opportunity, and we set you up for success for the rest of your life. This might actually change your life if you take advantage of this opportunity. All right, congratulations. Way to go. And as Joshua says, I'm Tristan, and I'm here for my tutorial. So everybody and their brother will be impersonating you, Tristan. You better get your button gear. We do have your email address, so we'll reach out via email, and maybe we'll connect that way. So congratulations. Well done. Okay, I think we'll probably leave it at that for today. Hope you guys felt like you got some value out of that big old rant. I bet I blabbed away there for a good 2.5 hours. Again, wish me luck with Liam. Your positive karma is always good and helpful, and I actually think it does make a difference. Looks like the weather's wow, it's kind of overcast today. So anyway, it should be for a good day for a drive. Okay, everybody, have yourselves an awesome rest of your day. Hit the like button, subscribe, ring Colleen's bell, and maybe tell a friend. And if you can, by all means, pop in. I'm Tristan, and so is my wife. That's good, David. I like that. PMA for the win. Slow and steady wins the race. Don't take no wooden nickels. Remember what your number one job is. Excuse me. All the best. And the only thing left for good old Brian to say at this point is a big bye for now.